70,000 years ago, this planet was not ruled by one kind of human. There were many. They walked the same valleys, they stared at the same cold stars, they chased the same herds across the same dangerous plains. And yet, only one of them would live to tell the story. Listen closely. In the beginning, there was not silence, but breath-heavy, frightened, determined. Fires crackled in caves that faced the wind. Smoke rose in thin blue threads into a night that never truly slept. A child pressed her palm toward the heat and learned her first truth. Fire loves those who feed it. A hunter cut a track through frozen grass and learned his second. The earth remembers everything. 9 kinds of humans. 9 ways to face the dark. Some were giants of muscle and bone, born to drag carcasses through blizzards. Some were small and quick, weaving through jungle shadows, where the air tasted like wet leaves and thunder. Some carried strange songs in their throats. Some carved quiet prayers into stone. All of them loved. All of them feared. All of them tried. But only one kind sits here now, listening. The others, Neanderthals, Denisovans. The tiny people of distant islands sank into the long sleep of forgotten time. Their faces faded, their names dissolved, their fires went out, and the night, as always, waited for someone to stumble. Why did they vanish? Why are we the last ones left? Imagine a cold dawn on a plain of grass, stubbled with frost. From far away, the ground starts to speak, a low thunder rolling under your ribs. Mammoths. Their backs sway like slow waves under a sky the color of iron. A line of hunters crouches in the shadow of a ridge. They do not blink. They do not cough. Their breath is soft and white. They are people, human, like you. Not us, but human. Across the river, under a cliff blackened by old smoke, others are watching too. Broader shoulders, heavier brows. Their hands close around spears tipped with stone that gleams like a frozen moon. They smell of fat and flint and something stubborn. They are not afraid of the cold. The cold belongs to them. If you could hold the whole scene in your palm, the 2 groups, the herd, the wind, you would see a balance, as fragile as a soap bubble. One shift of air, one shout, one thrown spear, and history would tilt. But for a heartbeat, nothing moves. There were nights when the sky seemed lower than it should be. Nights when the moon turned to a thin bone, and the stars were needles in black cloth. On those nights, all kinds of humans told stories to stay warm. Stories of the first fire stolen from a storm. Stories of eyes in the reeds at the edge of the river. Stories of a time when the world was softer, or harder, or kinder, depending on who needed the comfort. In one cave, a hand. Your hand, my hand. Theirs pressed red ochre to the wall and left a print. Not a word, not a map. A promise. We were here. The promise remains. The hens do not. Listen again, because the plain is changing. The mammoths turn. The wind slides its weight from one shoulder to the other. The hunters feel it first, in the way the grass lies down, in the way their tongues taste iron. A signal passes through the line, not with words, but with breath. Now, now, now. The first spear misses. It hisses through fur like a snake with no teeth. The second finds meat. The third finds air. The fourth finds a place where ribs open like a doorway, and the beast's voice rips the morning in half. Across the river, the heavy-browed people rise as one, and their shout is different, older, like a stone rolling in a throat. For a moment, the 2 human storms rush the same prey. The ground forgets which feet belong to which tribe. The air forgets which breath is ours. Then something else happens, something that changes everything. An old hunter coughs. It is small, almost nothing. A trick of smoke, a scratch in the throat. But the mammoth's eye, black and wet and wide, flicks toward the sound. The herd surges. Hooves split the crust of frost. Tusks carve the sky. And a young male stumbles toward the river, toward the watchers with the moon-glint spears. 2 worlds collide in a spray of mud and breath. Later, the story will be different in each camp. In one, they will say the others stole the kill. In the other, they will say the mammoth chose them. Both will be true enough to keep the anger warm. But for now, in this first chapter, know this. There was a time when many humans woke to the same thunder and chose, again and again, whether to share or to take, whether to greet or to stab, whether to let the herd pass or to pull it down. Those choices wrote our origin. Those choices cost everything. Far away, in a place where the jungle climbs the bones of mountains, a different people move through green dusk, with feet that barely kiss the earth. They are small, no taller than your chest, and their eyes are old and quick. They carry fire cupped in shells. Their laughter sounds like the chatter of birds. They know the paths that deer prefer, and the caves that flood in angry storms. In their stories, the world is a living animal that can be pleased if you step carefully across its ribs. We call them Homo floresiensis, but they did not call themselves that. They called themselves by a sound that does not fit in our throats. On a winter coast, where the sea gnaws at cliffs of black glass, people with arms like ropes and chests like barrels stand against a wind that feels like a blade. They are pale with cold, not with fear. Their fire sits low and blue in a nest of stones that have learned how to hold heat. When they laugh, steam bursts from their mouths, like small ghosts. Their dead are not abandoned. They are folded into the earth with care, as if the ground were another kind of mother. We call them Neanderthals. They called themselves home, in a cave high above a valley where rivers brace themselves against rock. A tooth shines with a secret. The jaw it belonged to is dust. The flesh it held is a story. No one remembers how to tell. But the tooth whispers in a language that does not need breath. A sequence of letters written in meat and bone DNA. A hint of someone we cannot see. A cousin whose face we could pass in a crowd and never pause to greet. We call them Denisovans. They call to us from inside our own blood. 9 kinds of humans. 1 planet, 1 long winter of decision, and then the sky changed. There are mornings when the sun is a coin. This was a morning when the sun was an ember. The air tasted of stone. Beards fell silent, not out of respect, but because ash choked the branches where they sat. The world coughed. The world kept coughing. Ash came down like black snow. Fires went strange, too bright, too hungry, too quick to anger. Water tasted like the memory of knives. The mammoths' backs were grey with dust. Children learned a new game, counting days since the last honest blue sky. In that dimness, every kind of human played their oldest trick. We adapted. Shelters were rebuilt. Paths were remembered. Seeds were saved. Stories grew teeth. Every mouth asked the same quiet prayer with different words. Let my fire live. Let my people see another spring. Somewhere on the edge of a plain that had forgotten its own color, 2 groups met again. No one raised their spears. No one lowered them. Either, between them lay a bowl of stone with coals nested in wet moss. A hand reached out dark with smoke, lined with work, and lifted the bowl, so all could see. The embers pulsed like a slow heart. Another hand reached out pale with cold, cracked like old bark, and added a chip of resin that hissed and sweetened the air. 2 fires, 1 bowl. There are moments, very few, when history chooses the soft answer and is not ashamed. A woman stepped forward. Her hair was stiff with ash, and her eyes were the color of the river in winter. From a pouch at her belt, she drew a red stone polished by many thumbs. The stone kissed a piece of iron-black rock, and a fat spark leaped up like a startled insect. Beside her, a man with shoulders like doors watched the spark with a child's face. He did not know he still had. Across from them, a boy who had held a spear. Every day since his hands were big enough to circle the shaft, let his fingers fall from the point. He opened his palm. It was empty. It was enough. The elders will argue later, as elders must. They will say you cannot eat mercy. They will say a spark is a poor trade for fat. They will say, as all who love life say, that safe it, but at night, when the sea, children slept to it, the ash fell softer. In the morning, we are tea. Do not mistake this for softness. Mercy is not a meadow. It is a knife. On those nights, the quiet. If you listen closely, the plain still carries the echo of those decisions. In wind that smells like old ash, in the gray that sometimes slips into the blue of the sky, in the way your own hand looks when it reaches for heat. We are not alone in our past. We carry sea. When you walk through a city built from glass and electricity, you are walking through layers of old campfires that refuse to go out. When you open your mouth to sing in a language with a grammar no mammoth ever heard, you are breathing for those whose stories ended in caves, whose names we have misplaced. When you look at a stranger and know, without knowing why, that you are both pretending to be, so here is the truth. The first chapter must leave you. There was a dawn when 9 kinds of humans watched the same sun rise. And there was a long afternoon. Stray. Who will remain? W. We did not win back. The rest, the ash, the bones, the vanished names we will find together. Follow the MB. This is the age of many humans, and this, the night deepens. The cold climbs like a living thing, sliding under skins and into lungs. Somewhere beyond the ridge, the mammoths are only shadows now, their heavy steps swallowed by the dark. The 2 fires, the one in the stone bowl, and the one burning quietly in the chest of each watcher, refuse to die. But not everyone can share warmth. Far to the east, in the black spine of mountains where clouds curl like sleeping beasts, another people are watching the sky. Their world is stone and wind. Their feet are wide, their chests deep, their breath heavier than ours. They drink the air the rest of us would choke on. They are the children of height, born to live where the eagles test their wings. We call them Denisovans. They called themselves nothing because they never needed to. For a long time, they endured where no one else could. Their bodies learned secrets the rest of us forgot. How to trap heat inside bone, how to coax breath from frozen air. And yet, even the mountains cannot protect them from time. Their footprints are fading where ice remembers their weight. Their voices cling to the inside of caves like cobwebs the sun will never find. But a piece of them walks with us still, inside your blood. If you are careful enough to listen, there is a whisper, a sequence older than your name, older than language, older than stories. It belongs to them. It is why some of us breathe easier where the earth leans close to the stars. It is why memory sometimes feels heavier than it should. Denisovans are gone, and yet they are not. Beneath the canopy of a distant island jungle, the air hums with heat. Cicadas sing like sparks. Beneath the tangled green, barefoot hunters, no taller than your chest, move like whispers between shadows. Their fires are small, their spears sharp as teeth. Their laughter is quick, like bird wings breaking through silence. These are the Homo floresiensis. The world will later call them the hobbits. They would not understand the word. They lived where giants could not, on islands too narrow for mammoths and too wild for anyone else. In their stories, the jungle had a soul and teeth, and they learned its moods the way other humans learned the hunt. They knew where the snakes slept. They knew which berries sing you to sleep forever. They knew how to hide when the storms rolled in from the sea and split the night like a god's hand tearing the sky in two. But knowing is not always enough. One year, the rains did not stop. Rivers rose like yaws. Roots rotted in the black water. The deer fled to higher ground. Hunger followed like a shadow you cannot step away from. And somewhere out beyond the white walls of foam, the ocean carried another kind of hunger. Ships of strangers, their sails like the wings of pale birds. They brought with them fire and steel and sickness carried in the quiet of their breath. The little people of Flores fought the storms. They could not fight what they could not see. One night, their fires winked out like the last stars before dawn. The jungle closed around their memory and swallowed their names far across the world. In a land where the earth spits steam and the ground shakes with the heartbeats of buried fire, there were others, taller than the hobbits, thinner than us, eyes wide from chasing the horizon. We call them Homo erectus, the walkers, the travelers, the first to dare the open road of continents. It was they who left Africa before any of us, carrying embers in their fists and shadows in their bones. For 1,000,000 years, they bent rivers to their thirst and carved stone into memory. And yet, when our story begins, they are fading, not from weakness, but from silence. They forgot how to change when the world demanded it. While the forests moved, while the ice advanced, while the herd shifted like restless dreams, they stayed. They stayed too long. The earth loves no one who waits. Somewhere between the shadow of mountains and the roar of seas, the last Homo erectus looked into the fire and saw no reflection staring back. Their line folded like smoke, their voices thin to a breath. The wind forgot how to carry 9 kinds of humans, 1 planet, and already some fires are dark, but not ours. Not yet. The sky begins to change. Far away, beneath the heavy silence of Sumatra, a beast older than all of us turns in its sleep. At first, the earth only hums a low, distant vibration beneath the feet of people who have no word for warning. Then the hum becomes a roar, and the roar becomes a scream. Toba, a mountain of fire waking from a dream. When it comes in waves. A detonation that tears the breath from the air. A column of ash punching into the stratosphere. A darkness rolling faster than the sun can climb. It is the kind of day when the earth decides who belongs to tomorrow and who will be folded into yesterday. The sky bleeds black. The seas swallow their edges. Forests burn in silence because the air itself has turned to knives. Across continents, 9 kinds of humans wake to the same night at noon. Fires choke on their own smoke. Hunters feel the cold bite sooner than their breath can frost. Children taste hunger before their mothers have words for it. In a single season, the herds vanish into memory, and with them goes the old safety, the old rhythm, the old arrogance of believing the sun would rise just because it always had. And yet, we endured in a cave beneath a cliff, slick with ice. A group of Homo sapiens huddles close, sharing air, warmed by lungs that will not give up. The eldest hums a sound older than language, and a baby stops crying. Outside, the ash falls soft and endless, turning the world into a grey ghost of itself. Inside, a story sparks between strangers. Tomorrow, one group will climb into the blinding wind. They will carry a torch wrapped in moss, its little flame shivering like the last heartbeat of the old earth, somewhere far beyond the white curtain. Another group waits. Whether they will greet them with open hands or sharpened stone, no one knows. The choice will write the next 1,000 years. The ash from Toba still drifts across the sky, soft as breath, heavy as memory. The world is quieter now, but not safe. 9 kinds of humans once walked the earth. Already, 3 are gone. And somewhere, on the edge of an African savanna, where fire has carved black veins into the grass, a small band of Homo sapiens huddles beneath the stars. They are fewer than 1,000, fewer than the number of trees in the valley, and yet, inside their chests, a spark burns that no ash can smother. They have something the others do not. Not strength, not speed, not sharper teeth or thicker skins. They have story. One night, as the fires shrink to embers, a child asks the question that will shape the next 100,000 years. Why are we here? The elder does not answer. Instead, she points to the stars and begins a story about the first hunter, the first river, the first dream. The story passes through the camp like a ripple of light. For the first time, fear is shared, hope is shared. The future becomes something the living can hold together. This is what sets us apart. We imagine, we tell ourselves what could be, and then we make it so. At dawn, the band moves north. They follow a river's silver thread as it cuts through the savanna, carrying them toward an edge they cannot yet name. They do not know it, but their footprints will become the first lines on a map no one has drawn. Weeks turn to months, months turn to years. Children grow into hunters, hunters become elders, and with each passing season, the band grows bolder. They carve tools from bone, weave traps from sinew, shape blades sharper than winter air. Their voices shift, too. Not just for warning and hunting, but for dreaming, for planning, for deciding what tomorrow should look like. Then one morning, as the mist curls low over the river, they see something they have never seen before. Smoke, not theirs. The elders halt. The hunters crouch. Fingers tighten on spears, napped from flint sharp enough to part skin like fruit. Across the bend, another band waits. Their faces are strange, heavier brows, deeper shadows beneath the eyes. They stand broader, thicker, built for a colder earth than this. Neanderthals. For a long breath, the two groups watch each other, separated by 20 paces and 40,000 years of divergence. The river speaks louder than they do, and then a single bird screams, rising from the reeds. It is enough. Spears lift, bodies coil. The savannah holds its breath, but the strike does not come from the Neanderthal side. An elder steps forward. His hands are empty, palms open, showing nothing but skin and the deep, pale scars of 100 winters. Our elder mirrors him, setting down her spear, tilting her chin toward the river. In the silence, two people who have no words for peace share it anyway. That night, for the first time in history, two different kinds of humans sit beneath the same stars and trade fire for meat, shell for stone, gesture for laughter. No words exist, but meaning moves between them like smoke. By dawn, the truce is broken not by anger, but by hunger. Each band returns to its side, carrying more questions than answers. But the lesson remains. If we can share stories, we can share survival. The years stretch forward like the long back of an animal waiting to be ridden. The band splits, then splinters again, seeding the earth with whispers of what's to come. Homo sapiens bloom like embers, carried by a restless wind. Some push into the vast Arabian deserts, chasing clouds and antelope. Others cling to the coasts, following the salt breath of the ocean. Everywhere, they leave signs of themselves, footprints baked into ancient dunes, shells carved with spirals, the red thumbprints of children pressed into stone. And then, somewhere beyond the horizon, they begin to meet the others. In a frozen gorge where the wind tears skin from bone, sapiens kneel beside the bodies of strangers. Their faces are broad, their hands thick, their spears tipped with a stone the color of night. A single tooth, pried from a cracked jaw, will one day tell us their name. Denisovans. We traded with them. Once. Then we fought them. Then we became them. Because when one Sapiens and one Denisovan met in the wild silence of the world, their blood wrote a third story. Neither tribe could have imagined that story lives inside some of us still. This is how we rise, not by replacing, but by absorbing, by carrying pieces of those who vanished inside our own bones. The wind sharpens, the seasons turn harder, and Homo sapiens keep moving. From the valleys of Africa to the dry ribs of Arabia, we follow the rivers, the coasts, the whispering promise of greener lands ahead. Hunger drives us. Hope carries us. Behind us, the world burns. Ahead, the unknown waits with open teeth. Across a narrow bridge of earth, now lost beneath the sea, our kind steps into a new continent. Before us lies the wild expanse of the Levant rock and thorn, rivers and caves, a land already claimed by others. Neanderthals. They know this land. They own its cold. Their traps are clever, their shelters deep, their arms thick with the strength of a lifetime wrestling winter. When we arrive, we are small shadows against their stone-built walls, but we bring something different, something invisible, something deadly. Not weapons, not poison, words. In the light of fires, we plan. We coordinate, we choose leaders, we map the hunt, we paint the future before it arrives. We are not stronger, we are not faster, but we are more together than anyone has ever been. And so the balance tilts. One winter night, a hunting party of 8 sapiens stalks, a herd of red deer along a frozen riverbank. Their footprints sink into snow the color of bone. Ahead, through the mist, 3 Neanderthals wait, crouched low, their spears angled like the ribs of a trap. The wind carries no sound until the scream. A buck bolts, splashing ice shards into the air, and chaos explodes. Sapiens surge forward, driving the herd toward open ground. Neanderthals cut left, intercepting, their power undeniable. Spears shatter against antlers. Bone meets bone. Steam rising from the clash of two species, fighting for the same breath. And yet, something happens in the blur. The sapiens shift. Wordless, fluid as smoke. Two hunters peel wide, circling the flank. Another signals without sound, his hand slicing the air like a blade. In moments, the Neanderthals find themselves surrounded not by strength, but by strategy. One falls, the herd scatters, the river swallows silence again. By dawn, the survivors return to their caves, carrying meat, wounds, and a new certainty. This land will not be shared for long, but the earth remembers balance. It punishes arrogance. The sky begins to change again. Clouds thicken, swollen with the promise of ice. Snow comes earlier than memory says it should. Rivers Zeitze beneath glass. The sun loses its warmth. The ice age has returned. And now, survival is no longer about strength or strategy. It is about movement. Bands of sapiens spread thin across the Middle East. Some head east, into Asia's endless steppes, where mammoths roam beneath storms of white. Others follow the coastline south, clinging to fish and shell when the herds grow scarce. But one band pushes north, into Europe itself, the frozen empire of the Neanderthals. This is where we change forever. At first, there is war, silent, brutal, efficient. Sapiens raid camps for food and fire. Neanderthals strike back with the fury of wolves defending their den. Spears find flesh. Blood freezes on snow. But something else begins to happen. In the cold, fear bends. It does not break. One night, a sapiens child is born pale-haired, his eyes wide and strange, his bones thicker than his kin's. The elders whisper. His mother says nothing, only cradles him tighter against her chest. Generations later, when we open his bones, we will find a secret hidden in the marrow. Neanderthal blood flows in us. We did not just fight them, we became them, and then we replaced them. From this moment on, Homo sapiens expand like wildfire across Europe, across Asia, across the edge of the known world. We leave handprints on cave walls in France, bone flutes in German rivers, the outlines of bison drawn in flickering ochre where firelight dances, vetame wolves, sharpen tools, trap rivers, and tell stories that bind us tighter than blood. But the more we rise, the lonelier the world becomes. The others are fading, Floresiensis gone, Erectus gone, Denisovans vanishing into our veins. And in the frozen silence of Europe, the last Neanderthal fires dim until only embers remain. One day, the earth wakes to a strange truth. There is only us. But the story does not end here, because survival carries a price, and every victory leaves ghosts behind. Far to the north, where ice walls carve shadows into the sky, the world tightens its grip on life. Seas freeze, winds strip the flesh from bones in seconds. In that brutal theater, a handful of sapiens stand on a cliff, staring at an ocean they cannot yet cross. Behind them, their world burns with cold. Before them, a new world waits, and somewhere deep inside their ribs, they already know they will find a way. Because we are the only ones left, and we are hungry. The world is changing again. The winds grow colder, the rivers retreat into ice, and beneath the grey weight of the sky, the fires of 9 kinds of humans flicker, some fighting, some fading, some already gone. Once, the earth belonged to many voices. Now, silence waits for its turn. Far in the northern forests, where ice crowns the black pines and wolves sing beneath dying moons, a band of Neanderthals huddle against the cold. Their breath paints white ghosts in the air. Their shelters are carved from the bones of mammoths, their hands cracked and bleeding from frost. For 200,000 years, they have ruled these frozen kingdoms. Tonight, they whisper about us. They know we are coming. Across the valley, under a canopy of stars blurred by storm, a group of sapiens watch the same dark horizon. Their fires burn smaller, lower, hidden behind stones, to keep the light from betraying them. They are outnumbered here, weaker in body, strangers to the cold, but in their minds, an ember glows. They carry stories that tell them, this land can be ours. For many winters, the balance holds. We keep to the low valleys. Neanderthals hold the high cliffs. Sometimes we trade. Sometimes we fight. Always. The forests remember. But then comes a season colder than any before. Snow buries the roots. Ice locks the rivers. The herds move south, abandoning the old hunting grounds. Hunger spreads like a shadow no fire can chase away. And in hunger, alliances break. One night, under a dying moon, 12 sapiens stalk a herd of wild horses across a frozen marsh. Their footprints sink soundless into frost. Their spears are bone-tipped, sharp, but fragile. As they close in, a sudden roar breaks the silence. 3 Neanderthals erupt from the reeds, charging without warning. The fight is short, brutal. Our bones are lighter, theirs are stronger. One sapien falls, another screams as a stone axe splits his shield. Blood hisses on the ice, but even in chaos, we move like whispers. Signals pass hand to hand. Traps spring from the shadows. One Neanderthal slips, his skull meeting rock with a crack like thunder. When the echoes fade, 3 sapiens lie still. 2 Neanderthals do not rise. The herd is gone, and the forest is quieter than before. In the caves that night, our elders argue. Some say we must flee south, back toward warmth and plenty. Others demand. We stand and fight, for there is no turning back. But one voice, one soft, shaking voice says something different. If we cannot defeat them with strength, we will defeat them with time. Weeks become months, seasons turn, and something begins to happen. At first, no one notices. A small scratch in the throat, a cough that lingers, then another, and another. The Neanderthals begin to die, not from battle, not from famine, from something invisible carried in the breath of strangers. We do not know the word for it yet, but the world has always known. Disease travels faster than war. Entire valleys fall silent in days. Campsites go cold. Children disappear into shallow graves. By the time the Neanderthals understand what hunts them, it is already inside their lungs. The end does not come with fire or stone. It comes with silence. Across the oceans, on islands no larger than a man's memory, another people face another ending. The Homo floresiensis. The little people of Flores are drowning. When the rains come, they come like gods. Rivers choke on mud. Hillsides dissolve into brown torrents. Crocodiles slide through drowned forests, hunting anything that moves. And as the jungle drowns, food vanishes. One by one, their small fires fade beneath the weight of endless rain. But even when the water recedes, another shadow waits offshore. Strangers arrive on waves taller, louder, hungrier. They carry tools sharper than bone, voices rough with a language the hobbits cannot understand. Behind them, they bring something the jungle has never seen, new sicknesses, hidden in blood and breath. Within a few hundred seasons, the people of Flores leave no trace, but bones buried beneath stone. The jungle closes, the world forgets. Far to the east, another story is ending. On a cliff overlooking a restless sea, the last band of Homo erectus watches the horizon burn gold. For 1,000,000 years, their feet have traced the edges of rivers, deserts, and coasts, carrying fire across continents. Before anyone else dared, they were the first to dream of distant lands, the first to leave home. But they are no longer the future. The herds they once followed are gone. The rivers they once claimed are crowded with strangers. Even the air feels different now, filled with smoke, filled with voices not their own. One by one, they vanish into the tide of history, leaving only shadows in stone and whispers in bone. 9 kinds of humans. 4 are gone. 5 fires remain. But the wind is shifting, and it smells of endings. The earth trembles beneath the weight of ice. Glaciers crawl across the land like slow beasts devouring mountains. Rivers freeze mid-breath. Forests shatter into silence. The Ice Age tightens its grip. And one by one, the last fires of humanity begin to go out. Deep in the cold veins of Siberia, where the sky burns green with northern lights, the Denisovans hold their ground. They have always belonged to the high mountains, their lungs carved by thin air, their bones strong as oak. For tens of thousands of years, they thrived where others gasped for breath. But the ice comes faster than memory. The great herds turn south. The rivers vanish beneath white silence, and something else hunts them. Something invisible, hidden in the lungs of wandering strangers. Sickness, the breath of Sapiens carries ghosts. One by one, the Denisovans cough blood onto snow that remembers too much. Their songs vanish into wind. Their last child dies beneath a frozen sky. Her tiny hand wrapped around a necklace carved from wolf bone. And yet, they are not truly gone. In the veins of millions alive today, fragments of their story endure. If you breathe easily in high mountains, thank them. If your blood carries strength against cold, you carry their memory. Extinction is not always silence. Sometimes, it is inheritance. Far to the south, in the tangled jungles of an island now called Luzon, another people vanish without a sound. The Homo luzonensis, small, elusive, and clever, leave behind no words, no songs, no faces, only bones buried in limestone, sealed away for tens of millennia, waiting for us to find them. We do not know their last day. We do not know what killed them, but we know this: the earth does not keep everyone. And in the black lungs of Africa, beneath caverns of endless night, the Homo naledi climb, strange, small-bodied, with curved fingers made for gripping stone. They belong more to darkness than to light. Their fire is weak, their tools primitive, their voices strange, even among their own kind. For a while, they survived the storms above, untouched by hunger, disease, or war. But caves cannot protect forever. One season, the water comes. A sudden flood roars through the rock, filling tunnels with black torrents. When the earth exhales again, silence answers. Homo naledi is gone. By now, 9 fires once burned across the earth. Only one grows stronger. Ours. Homo sapiens spread like breath across glass, invisible but unstoppable. From the deserts of Arabia to the frozen spines of Europe, from the jungles of Southeast Asia to the endless plains of the Americas, we carry something no other human ever mastered: memory. We carve animals on cave walls, leaving stories that will outlive the storytellers. We bury our dead with shells, ochre, and flowers, giving meaning to endings that once had none. We weave nets to trap fish, stone to break stone, fires to bend the night into submission. And with every tool, every word, every shared dream, we become harder to kill. But this victory carries a weight. We do not realize it yet. But as we rise, the world becomes quieter. For the first time in 3 million years, we are alone. Imagine standing beneath a sky full of stars, knowing that once this planet held voices we will never hear again. Imagine feeling their absence press against the silence like a wound that will never close. This is the inheritance of survival, loneliness. The last Neanderthal dies in a cave where snow has buried the door. The last Denisovan coughs his final breath into the thin blue air of the Himalayas. The last hobbit of Flores curls beneath ferns taller than his body and closes his eyes as the jungle claims him. One by one, 9 kinds of humans fall into shadow, and on a quiet plain somewhere in Africa, a single Homo sapiens child stares into the fire, her reflection dancing in the flame. She does not know it yet, but every dream, every song, every war, every birth, every extinction will one day rest inside her blood. The earth is silent, the others are gone, and for the first time, we belong to tomorrow alone. But the silence will not last, because beneath the skin of this fragile world, something stirs. Fire wakes in the belly of the earth. The sky grows heavy with ash, And soon, everything we have built will face its first true test. This is where our story burns brighter. This is where we meet apocalypse.
There was no fire, no flavor, only what the stream would give, and what they could take.
They followed the river, not for its beauty, but for what swam within it.